Okay, so here are a couple of online sources to help you with writing a thesis statement. The first one is the Purdue OWL Writing Lab, which you can type it into Google, but basically it's this website right here. And if you select establishing arguments and go to strong thesis statements, it'll take you to this page. And essentially this highlights a couple of main issues regarding thesis statements. One being that it needs to be something debatable, right? It has to be worth discussing in order for you to write an essay on it. The second needs to be narrow in the sense that it has to be something that's specific enough that you can talk about, right? And then it also goes into different types of claims so that you can figure out what type of claim you're actually trying to make. Now, in this case, for essay number 2, we are doing claims about solutions or policies, right? Which are claims that argue for or against a certain solution or policy approach to a problem. And they give this sample thesis. Let me see if I can make that a little larger. Sorry. Well, it would help if it didn't shrink. Okay. So it says, instead of drilling for oil in Alaska, we should be focusing on ways to reduce oil consumption, such as researching renewable energy sources, right? So here it talks about the problem, reducing oil consumption, right? And then it also says that one of the primary ways, right, should be such as researching renewable energy sources. Okay, so this is one site that you can use to help you. All right, and that's just to remind you, it's the Purdue OWL Online Writing Lab, which makes an online writing lab. Okay, now the next one, I wish somebody had showed, well, it probably didn't exist because there was no internet when I was in college. I was so sad. And I don't know why this screen is so, there, okay. All right, so this is the thesis statement creator, right? And essentially you can go to this URL right here, and it basically tells you to, you type in information into these various fields, and then it gives you a working thesis statement, right? Okay, so let's see, problem. Oh, there are so many problems, it's almost hard to choose. Okay, so I'm going to just go here and I'm going to put gentrification in Los Angeles. Okay, so obviously you need a topic, right? And then when you go, you have to have a position. So it says, what's the one thing about your topic that you believe to be true and that you wish to argue? So gentrification is an issue that needs to be addressed. Okay. I'm going to make this a little larger. All right. So I put in my topic and then I've got my position. All right. Oh, and let's spell things properly. Okay. And then third is a qualification, right? In the sense that you want to put in a qualifier so it doesn't sound like you're making a blanket statement. So although, let's see, it's important for people to live in the neighborhood of their dreams. Okay, I don't know how, I may change that in a minute, but I'll leave it that way right now. And then the reason, so the reason would be why I think my position is correct. Okay, so one of the reasons why I think it's correct is because gentrification is pushing low-income families further outside central Los Angeles, which creates, yeah, actually, I'll just leave it that way for now. Sorry. Can you tell I too have thesis statement anxiety. Okay. And then basically you're going to put all these together into one sentence. Now, what's going to happen here is I'm going to click on my thesis and it's going to put it together, but it's going to need to be changed. But this is okay. But you know, I accept that. So although it's important for people to live in the neighborhood of their dreams, gentrification is an issue that needs to be addressed because it is pushing low-income families further outside central Los Angeles. So because this is also a solution, I'm going to throw this in there even though I haven't researched anything, but I'll say one key solution would be to incorporate different housing availability into urban planning so that newer construction is obligated to provide affordable housing. Yeah, because what's happening right now is people can't afford, like in my neighborhood, there used to be a crack house at the end of the street, and now the crack house is worth, well, it got torn down and a new house was built, and now it's worth like $2 million. And the families that have grown up here can't afford to live here anymore because the rent is so high. So it's just a giant nightmare. Okay, so what I have here, I'm going to copy and paste this, is a working thesis, okay? So I'm going to say thank you, thesis creator, or johnmcgarvey.com for helping me. And I'm going to go to this Word document and I'm going to put my thesis here. Now, I don't like this anymore, so I'm going to take this out for right now. Oh, you know what I could change? Okay, so I'm going to put it back for a second. Is really, it's not that neighborhoods are constantly changing, right? So I would say, although neighborhoods are constantly in flux, should that be one word or two? And I'll put the composition of neighborhoods are constant, the economic. Sorry, do you like how I keep doing it? I'll make it larger too. This is what happens when your teacher decides to make a video. Okay, so although the economic composition of neighborhoods, and there's my subject verb agreement, is constantly in flux, gentrification is an issue that needs to be addressed because it is pushing low and middle class families further outside central Los Angeles, which means the city is losing its diversity. One key solution would be, and then this sounds conditional, right? So I'll just put is to incorporate different housing availability into urban planning so that newer construction is obligated to provide affordable housing. Now this seems wordy, so let me go back through and I'm just going to see if I can trim any words out. And I'm going to make this double spaced right now so that you don't go blind while trying to watch me do it. Okay, so I'll just take that out and put constantly changes. Gentrification is an issue that needs addressing because low income and middle class families further outside Los Angeles, central Los Angeles, oh, I think I better capitalize that, which means the city loses its diversity. One key solution is to incorporate different housing availability into urban planning. So I have a love affair with the word that's totally unnecessary. That's totally unnecessary. Okay, so newer construction is obligated to provide affordable housing. Okay, so this is what I call the working thesis, in that it's the thesis I'm starting with. And that's not to be confused with the final thesis, right? And the book even said that which is the one that ends up in the final submission, okay? So as the chapter pointed out, you start to do research and you realize that your base claim is going to change, right? So I could do research, and I'm not saying you have to do research for this paper, but you can get all your ideas down for essay number 2, and then for essay 3 you will be doing some research on this topic, and you could decide that really this is not the solution, right? And so that would ultimately change your thesis. Or you could get to the end of this essay draft and realize that this is not, you need to change this. So, but what you need to submit this week is just the working thesis and a sample body paragraph. So that way we can see what you're starting with, okay? And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a direction so that you can feel like you've got some pathway for what you're discussing, okay? So this first part identifies the problem. Whoops, sorry, that identifies the problem. And then this part identifies the solution, okay? So use the thesis creator and the Purdue OWL website to kind of help you get your footing. And obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to email me.